So, with the 2020 election season in full swing, I thought I would cover the topic that has been discussed since the last presidential election in 2016. Today I'm starting a series on the National Popular Vote Compact. While they are correct that they are not violating the Electoral College or the state's right to choose their electors, it does undermine the principle of what the Electoral College is. My goal over the series of videos is not to change your mind, but to help you understand the current system better. I am not an expert, but I do enjoy reading and studying about the Constitution and its application. The first and foremost thing that we have to make clear is that we are a republic-based government, not a democracy. What I mean by that is there are parts that are democratic, the way we run our elections, but it is not a true democracy.
14 months before the 2016 election, candidate Scott Walker said,
The nation as a whole is not going to elect the next president. 12 states are.
Governor Mitt Romney said,
and so all the money will get spent in 10 states.
This video explains why more than 3/4 of the people of the United States are politically irrelevant in general election campaigns for president, and how that can be changed in order to make every voter in every state relevant in every presidential election.
My first thoughts on this topic as I heard about it was this is great. However, as I have researched this topic more and more, I have found hypocrisies and twists in the language. As I said in the preamble, this is going to be a series of videos, and as I tackle each video, I will bring up screenshots, images, and references to the claims made by them and myself. My first question to Dr. Koza is, how will this make every voter's vote count?
The National Popular Vote Bill would guarantee the presidency to the candidate receiving the most popular votes in all 50 states and the District of Columbia. The President of the United States is elected by 538 presidential electors. The Constitution lets each state choose the method of selecting its electors. Today, 48 states use the so-called winner-take-all law that awards all of a state's presidential electors to the candidate who gets the most popular votes inside each separate state.
So you want the winner of the popular vote to become the President of the United States. Okay. Now, this question is for my woke, progressive, and social justice friends. All of those in quotes, by the way. My woke, progressive, and social justice-minded viewers and friends. What happens when a Trump-like figure wins the popular vote? What happens if enough of the states meet the 270 vote goal of the compact, and this is enacted by 2020, and Trump wins the popular vote? What will you do then?
For example, because Obama received 1.5 million votes in Minnesota and Romney got only 1.3 million, all 10 of Minnesota's electoral votes for president were cast by Democratic electors. The result of these state winner-take-all laws is that neither candidate has any reason to campaign in any state where he is safely ahead or hopelessly behind. Thus, the only states that receive any general election campaign events in 2012 were the 12 states that were within 3% of the national outcome. In fact...
Okay, so the question I get from this section is, how can you be the POTUS if you do not visit all those states? That is ultimately what I hear Dr. Koza saying here. He is not wrong in his figures about which states are visited and why. These states are contested by the candidates, and why put in an effort in a state that leans a certain way? As we can see here from this breakdown of the Electoral College votes since 1972, the actual page linked below has from the very first presidential election up to 2016, but I want to focus on more recent elections. Look how these states have flipped year to year, like Iowa and Ohio, to name a couple. Why would, as a candidate who is a Republican, go to Montana to hold an event if you have a track record of holding that state? And when I say you, I mean the Republican Party. The last time the continental West Coast all voted red was 1984 for Reagan. Changes like this don't happen all the time. If they're steady, why? Why go to those places?
In fact, 2/3 of the general election campaign events took place in just 4 closely divided states. Ohio received 73 of the entire country's 253 campaign events, almost a third, and a similarly large portion of the ad spending. Florida got 40 campaign events, Virginia 36, and Iowa 27. 96% of the campaign was concentrated in just 8 states.
Again, what about those states that stand out from the rest? All of those states are swing states. They are not consistent in how they vote. And unlike my state of Washington or Texas, that remain pretty steady.
As a former White House press secretary said, quote, "If people don't like it, they can move from a safe state to a swing state." Fortunately, thanks to the National Popular Vote Bill, people don't have to move to another state in order to make their vote count. The cause of all these problems, namely the state-by-state, winner-take-all method of choosing presidential electors, is not in the Constitution.
Again, true, only 2 states are not winner-take-all. However, this is where he trips up his argument for the national popular vote, and why I disagree with it. He says that it's not in the Constitution, and he's right. But let's see what else he says.
It was not debated at the Constitutional Convention and was never mentioned in the Federalist Papers. Only 3 states used winner-take-all in our nation's first presidential election in 1789, and all 3 repealed it by 1800. It was not till 1880 that winner-take-all was adopted by all the states.
Not debated at the Constitutional Convention or in the Federalist Papers? True. But why is winner-take-all so bad? Well, just like Dr. Koza said, it creates haves and have-nots in the Electoral College. How could we solve this? One option is the national popular vote. Another, that I will go into more detail later, is to adopt the Nebraska and Maine model. These votes are counted by districts and population, so you can have split electoral college votes within a state.
These state winner-take-all laws can be repealed in the same way that they were originally enacted, namely by passing a different state law. In the leading case governing the selection of presidential electors, the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that the choice of method belongs exclusively to the states.
Yes, and the states that have voted for the national popular vote have been duped into voting for something that will not give the results that it thinks it will. The main supporters of this are the leftists that think if the 2016 was a popular vote election, Hillary would have won, which is true on the numbers we have had at the time. However, in a majority of blue states, there are a large population of hidden red voters, and vice versa in the red states. What would have happened if those red voters came out in California and voted Trump? Trump could have won California. Now, this is just one example of a state enacting it, and it's not actually in effect yet. However, the hypothetical still stands. What if more red voters came out in 2016 under a national popular vote compact and voted for Trump?
As of 2015, 11 jurisdictions possessing 165 electoral votes have used the power given to them in the Constitution to pass the national popular vote law, and one legislative chamber has approved the bill in 11 other states, including a recent bipartisan 28-18 vote in the Oklahoma Senate and a bipartisan 37-21 vote in the Oregon House.
This is an interesting breakdown. However, I'm going to provide the updated information. Currently, the National Popular Vote Compact is at 196 electoral votes needed. This includes the states of California, Colorado, Connecticut, Washington, D.C., Delaware, Hawaii, Illinois, Massachusetts, Maryland, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Oregon, Rhode Island, Vermont, and Washington. They need 74 or more electoral college votes to enact this bit of legislation from these states.
The national popular vote law will take effect when identical laws are enacted by states possessing a majority of the electoral college, that is 270 out of 538. After taking effect, every vote will be equal throughout the United States, thus making every voter in every state politically relevant in every presidential election.
With this being an introduction video, it is clear that Dr. Koza does not go into detail of how every voter's vote will matter. Without trying to strawman him here, it appears he believes to think that the voting populace does and will vote in a particular way. Or at least that is how I see many of the proponents of the national popular vote that I have talked with. Dr. Koza has not specified anything, and I'm not, again, trying to strawman him here. But what it appears to me is that he is thinking this is how they vote.
All of the presidential electors from the enacting states will be supporters of the candidate receiving the most popular votes in all 50 states and D.C., thereby guaranteeing the presidency to the candidate receiving the most popular votes nationwide.
Is it the best thing for our country? Is having the most popular candidate win the best option for our presidency? Many would argue that Andrew Jackson is a horrible president. There are things that he did great, there are things that he did that were horrible. But he was a popular president. What about Ulysses S. Grant? He won resoundingly in his second election, but his entire second term was mired in controversy and corruption. Is that what we really want from a popular president?
And the national popular vote bill would, of course, prevent a candidate from winning the presidency without receiving the most popular votes nationwide, as has happened in 4 of our nation's 57 presidential elections and in 1 in 7 non-landslide elections, something that is especially relevant today given that there have been 7 consecutive non-landslide elections between 1988 and 2012. The National Popular Vote Compact is a constitutionally conservative, state-based approach. It does not alter the Constitution and does not violate the Constitution. It retains the Electoral College and state control of elections.
Does not alter or violate the Constitution. True. Constitutionally conservative? Maybe. Show me where in the Constitution it says that the office of president has to be held by the winner of a popular vote. Show me where in the Constitution it says that the office of the president has to be held by a landslide winner. Show me where it says in the Constitution that we are a true democracy. The problem I have with this compact is that it assumes that we are a democracy first and a republic second. We are not. We do not hold votes on every issue that comes to our attention, nor should we. This is why we have the elected officials. I just want to thank you for watching this, the first part of many, on the National Popular Vote Compact. I will be making videos on their myths section on their page and YouTube channel. Where the YouTube information on their videos is outdated, like the previous number of the electoral votes that they hold, I will provide information from their site directly. Link to their site and other sites that I use will be linked in the descriptions below. Again, I want to thank you for watching, and if you're so kind and choose to, you can support me on Patreon, Subscribestar, or via Streamlabs directly. Links are in the description below. Thank you.